All right, welcome back to another episode of the Black Bullion Show for goldandsilvertoday.com. Check that website out, guys. Past performance doesn't always predict future performance. And yes, that is true, but it does give us at least some foundation to rest our decision making. Now, in this episode, I want to go over the most recent actions regarding the stimulus bill. I know it can, almost seem like nothing will come from this because that's pretty much been the story since late July when talks really started to break down. But I want to talk about why this bill may potentially have a chance and what that could mean for gold and silver prices thereafter. But first, if you're new to this channel, please hit that big red subscribe button right down below. Also, please hit the like button. Helps to get this economic evangelism right on out there to the masses to bring more people into precious metals. Okay, so Pelosi anticipates reaching economic relief deal with Mnuchin, saying Trump diagnosis changes the dynamic. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Friday she anticipates striking a bipartisan economic relief deal with the Trump administration, suggesting that the president's diagnosis could speed up an agreement. She called on airlines to hold off on imminent furloughs pending a deal. This kind of changes the dynamic because here they see the reality of what we have been saying all along. This is vicious. I'm optimistic. I'm always optimistic, she said. We always have to find a path. That is our responsibility to do so, and I believe that we will. Democrats had sought a $2.2 trillion package, while the White House most recent offer was closer to $1.6 trillion. Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin spoke Friday afternoon for 65 minutes and plan to continue their discussions, according to Drew Hamill, a spokesperson for the White House Speaker. The pace, or I shouldn't say White House Speaker, I should say House Speaker. The pace of talks and the possibility of a deal have picked up markedly in recent days. White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows told reporters Friday that President Trump had inquired about the status of negotiations Friday morning, shortly after the president announced his positive results. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell sounded a positive note at a news conference in Kentucky. I'm trying to figure out here whether I should predict another bill quickly or not. But the talks have speeded up in the last couple of days, said McConnell, who was not directly involved in the negotiations, but is regularly briefed by Mnuchin. I think we're closer to getting an outcome. Okay, so my first impression of this is that Republicans actually seem somewhat upbeat from many of these comments, from McConnell and others, and they're not being outright dismissive of Pelosi's bill. My second reaction is that the bill asked for $2.2 trillion, and the Republicans are trying to talk down to $1.6 trillion. But at the end of the day, that's literally a 0.6 difference. Now, it would be extremely petty if these two parties couldn't make a deal over a 0.6 difference. Lastly, pressure is really mounting as our services sector is just now beginning to slow down. Non-farm payroll numbers that we got this prior week have, continued to edge lower. And, recently we also got this tweet from the president. Our great USA wants and needs stimulus. Work together and get it done. Thank you. This was on Saturday morning after he was admitted to Walter Reed. So this is essentially a signal to Republicans to say, hey, look, the Democrats brought this forward. You Republicans in the Senate, please pass this thing so I can sign it. And, it looks like with that, it will likely probably pass the Senate, just taking a look at everything else. So this will likely happen. Also, since September 8th, take a look here. Cases have been starting to rise more and more of the Ronies. They're starting to edge back up in the United States. And of course, the president has obviously contracted it. So there's a lot of pressure mounting behind this current moment that may not have been there in the summer when the stock market was hitting highs and economic data looked decent. You also didn't have the president saying, hey, get this thing done. But guys, we've talked a lot about what this could mean for gold and silver, even just on the news of the bill being signed into law. Here's the first piece of legislation that was actually signed into law as a response to the Ronies back in March 18th. It actually passed the Senate and was signed into law on the same day. So after March 18th, if you take a look here, this is the silver price. March 18th, we hit a bottom, and then pretty much right after that, it started to track upwards. So that was a huge turning point. Gold was pretty much the same. Let's go to the 18th here, then slowly started to edge up, and then boom. So that was a huge turning point for gold and silver. Now, again, just a reminder, past performance doesn't predict future performance, but I do think gold and silver may react to the upside initially if this bill is passed. Obviously, I also think that stocks are probably going to react to the upside as well initially if this passes. This is right here, the HEROES Act, and this is the one that's currently up to be signed into law. Now, I do think gold and silver will react well on this news. Prices may not take off immediately or in the way that we think it will. I don't think prices will really take off, astoundingly so, until after this volatility surrounding the election dissipates. I do think that it will go up, at least just a little bit. We have a lot of volatility around the president's diagnosis as well. That could also keep some pressure on prices and also even in the stock market as well, because of volatility. I should say specifically the VIX. So if more news comes out that's negative, that could keep pressure down. But the president did come out and speak directly to Americans on Saturday, and he had a suit on. He looked like he was in good shape. So, more of him kind of counteracting, possibly a media narrative that shows, him being on oxygen before he went into Walter Reed, or, maybe his condition taking a turn for the worse. The more he can actually come out there and show and speak, the more he can maybe counteract that, and that would keep prices elevated, and likely keep the stock market elevated as well in gold and silver. So there's a lot here to take into consideration, but I do think as far as the stimulus bill is concerned, if it does get passed, then we are going to see a bump in gold and silver prices. And then eventually, obviously, once it sinks into the system, it's definitely going to push prices higher. But guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you're new. It's Black Bullion for goldandsilvertoday.com.